Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian. From issues on politics,
hello Nigeria, I remain committed.
Security, education, health, lifestyle, and so much more. Join Spectrum Television.
Welcome to the news this week on Spectrum Television, a recap of major stories. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari to sign 2023 appropriation bill on Tuesday. Federal government, IGP, others condemn lawyer Rahim's murder by killer cop. Plus, France, UK join. Bill on Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023. Senate President Ahmed Lawan confirmed this yesterday after a visit to the president in his office. Lawan told State House correspondents he had briefed the Nigerian leader on the passage of the appropriation bill, the 2022 supplementary appropriation bill, and the finance bill, as well as the general elections, among other issues of national interest. He noted that while the National Assembly looked forward to the presidential assent on the first work day of the new year, the delay in the passage of the bill was due to some anomalies in the figures presented to the lawmakers. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, Thursday reiterated that justice will be served in the murder of Bolanle Rahim. He made the pledge while receiving Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu at the force headquarters in Abuja. Baba also assured Nigerians that Thursday, the Police Service Commission approved the suspension of the Assistant Superintendent of Police, Drambi Vandi, over Rahim's killing. In a statement, the Commission spokesman Ikechukwani said the suspension of the cop was with immediate effect. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Bar Association has condemned the murder of its member Bolanle Rahim of the lawyer. Also, the NBA's third vice president, Mandia Saba, vowed that the association will pursue the case with the police to ensure in Nigeria. Dies at age 95. News reaching us says that the former Catholic Pope Benedict has died at the Vatican residence aged 95, almost a decade after he stood down because of ailing health. With barely 8 weeks to the 2023 presidential elections, President Muhammadu Buhari Wednesday warned security agencies to execute behaviors that could compromise the democratic process. The president gave the charge when they inaugurated the Defense Intelligence Agency newly acquired estate in Idu-Kamo, Abuja. He asked those involved in handling sensitive election materials to uphold a high sense of professionalism in discharging their duties. In a related development, Northeast Operation Hadinkai to remain apolitical as 2023 general election approaches. The Army chief gave the charge while addressing the troops at a Christmas luncheon in Damaturu, Yobe State. He directed the troops to show professionalism. Yahaya also expressed appreciation to President Muhammadu Buhari for his continuous support to the Nigerian Army. Away from that, Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau says it will intensify efforts to improve aviation safety in 2023. The Bureau's Director General Akin Olateru made this known in Abuja on Thursday during an interview with newsmen. According to Olateru, one of the fundamental and serious intents the Bureau's boss said to achieve the feat, the group had planned to train and retrain its staff to sustain best practices in 2023. He said 3 air safety investigators of the Bureau had just completed their program at the Nigerian College of Technology, Zaria, to boost capacity. It is reviewing some peculiar allowances of both the civil and public servants and not salaries, as was recently reported. This was contained in a statement by the Deputy Director, Press and Public Relations Unit of the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment, Olajide Oshondun. The statement quoted the Minister of Labor and Employment, Chris Ngige, as saying that there will be no salary adjustment without the input of the leadership of the organized labor in accordance with the collective bargain agreement. On judiciary matters within the week, Justice Mariam Hassan of the Federal Capital Territory High Court, Abuja, had suppressed the move by the Department of State Services, DSS, to charge the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, with terrorism and economic crimes of national security. Justice Hassan also barred the DSS from arresting oppressive and of no effect. In a judgment of the originating summons filed by the Incorporated Trustees of Forum for Accountability and Good Leadership to enforce the fundamental rights of Emefiele, Justice Hassan also restrained the DSS from further harassing or threatening to detain him. Away from that, the others, according to the Commission, interested persons organizations have until noon of Monday, January 9th, 2023 to submit their bids. The EFCC spokesperson Wilson Wujaren announced this in a statement. In politics, Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike and other aggrieved governors of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, yesterday arrived in Port Harcourt, the state capital. Known as the G5 or the Integrity State, Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi of Enugu State and Okezie Ikpeazu of Abia State. Recall that the 5 governors had demanded the resignation of the PDP National Chairman, Senator Iyorchia Ayu, as a precondition to support the presidential ambition of Atiku Abubakar in the 2023 elections. The 5 aggrieved governors had on Tuesday visited the United Kingdom to decide on who they will support as the 2023 presidential candidate. With reports of the governors meeting with the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, the PDP threatens to punish them for any anti-party activities. Wike, however, said he was unperturbed and challenged those threatening to expel him from the party to go ahead and try it if they could. On Monday, the United States government announced a project to strengthen the forensic and chemical analysis capacity of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, as well as its intelligence gathering and prosecution capabilities. The spokesperson for the NDLEA, Femi Babafemi, announced the development in a statement. The latest support from the U.S. Department of State's Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs came on the heels of an award of 500 million naira grant to fund selected projects in the Anti-Narcotics Agency by the Abdul Rabiu Initiative. Elsewhere, Lagos State government says the proposed construction of the fourth mainland bridge project will be completed in 2027. The special advisor to the governor on public-private partnerships, Okwe George, and his counterparts in the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure, Aramide Adeoye, stated this project will be presided over by the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, in the first quarter of 2023. The special advisor said the bridge, when completed, would become the second longest in Africa, with 3 toll plazas, 9 interchanges, a 4.5-kilometer lagoon bridge, and an eco-friendly environment. Also, in the course of the week, the popular Calabar Carnival turned deadly on Tuesday during the bikers parade after a vehicle plowed into the crowd. This incident reportedly left at least 14 people killed and 24 others injured. The police said a drunk driver who had been arrested had lost control of his car and plowed into the crowd. Ayade cancelled the rest of the bikers parade, but other events planned for the carnival, which is set to end tonight with a fireworks display, still goes on. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Dom Emmanuel assured the people that his administration will complete about 60 kilometers of roads in Orowanam local government area before the end of his administration, said road, and the 4.94 Ibesod Okpokoro Ikot Ibritam road in Orowanam. The governor said the road projects were in fulfillment of his promise to the people of the area, assuring that the remaining roads and bridges with other development projects will be completed before the end of his administration. Governor Emmanuel therefore thanked the people of the area for providing an enabling environment for the contractors to operate. The governor, who commended the contractors for the quality of the road.
Will be self-sufficient. So please, some of them are into palm fruit cultivation, some are into cocoa, some are into cassava, some are into corn. But for cassava and corn, the government is providing input. Even cocoa that dry, you can see the results we've achieved. And within a short period, I want to commission something like this for those who are growing tomato and pepper. If each of us can do just half an hectare plantation of both corn and cassava, I think in the nearest future we'll be self-sufficient.
Meanwhile, Governor Dom Emmanuel has encouraged the people of Akwa Ibom State to invest in commercial agriculture as a way of generating sustainable income. Governor Emmanuel gave the encouragement while inaugurating a cassava starch processing plant in Orowanam local government. His views from this state. The governor appealed to cassava and corn farmers to take advantage of the plant in the area to sell their products at a better price. Government House correspondent Jane Owa reports that the governor said the starch processing factory would meet the increasing need for industrial starch in the country's farmers.
So that whatsoever you produce, we can actually achieve what I call appropriate pricing. Even right now, with what we are building in Ukarafun, for palm kernel, crude palm kernel oil, and palm oil, women shouldn't be staying so that you can have appropriate pricing for what you are producing. If you're producing cassava, you should be able to train your children with gari or with that cassava. These are the people. We can also
Still in Akwa Ibom, Governor Emmanuel has advised parents to engage their children in godly activities at tender ages as a means to institute acceptable behavioral patterns. Governor Emmanuel, who gave the admonition during a Christmas service at the United Evangelical Church Awai with the theme, The Prince of Peace, the resident pastor of United Evangelical Church Awaiman, the Reverend Umor, said the gathering of Christians to celebrate Christmas signified the entry of the Messiah into their lives and a secured future. Reverend Moore said it's necessary for Christians to commemorate the event. Government House correspondent Jane Owa reports that the church service featured thanksgiving and prayers for the government at all levels, as well as peace in the country. Still to come in the news. Be with us.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by Muslim. Our governor, we have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those...
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in process.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with PM to 6 p.m. for Legally Speaking.
Ivorian troops whose detention in Mali sparked a diplomatic row between the two countries to 20 years in prison. The public prosecutor announced the development yesterday. 3 women soldiers among the original group detained in July and who were freed in early September were sentenced to death in absentia. The trial proceedings came in the run-up to a January 1st deadline set by West African leaders for Mali to release the soldiers or face sanctions. In a statement, public prosecutor Laji Sarah said the Ivorians were found guilty of an attack and conspiracy against the government and seeking to undermine state security. The court proceedings were reportedly held. The court in Ivory Coast had on Wednesday handed down life terms to 4 men convicted of abetting a jihadist attack on a resort that left 19 people dead. George Charles Bini announced that the court in Abidjan, the country's commercial hub, found the 4 guilty of the deeds for which they were accused and sentenced them to life imprisonment. The March 13, 2016 assault was the first stormed the beach at Grand Bacham, a resort town 40 kilometers east of Abidjan, popular with Europeans, before attacking hotels and restaurants. The 45-minute bloodbath ended when Ivorian security forces shot dead the 3 attackers. The 19 people killed comprised 9 Ivorians, 4 French citizens, 11 33 people of various nationalities were wounded. Still in Africa, on Wednesday, families embraced and wept in emotional reunions after the first commercial flight in 18 months between Ethiopia's capital city and the war-torn Tigray region to the north. The return of flights between Addis Ababa and Tigray's capital Mekele followed a ceasefire reached between government and rebel forces last month. This week that it would lift its suspension of flight to Tigray with the first charter to the region since June 2021. On Wednesday, passengers arriving from Mekele were reportedly greeted by relatives at Bole International Airport in Addis Ababa. Rebel held Tigray for a first official visit following the peace deal aimed at ending a brutal 2-year conflict. On the foreign scene, a court in military-ruled Myanmar yesterday found the country's toppled leader Aung San Suu Kyi guilty of corruption charges. A legal officer noted that the court had sentenced her to 7 years in prison in the last of a string of criminal cases in an 18-month-long trial process. The 77-year-old San Suu Kyi, who has been a prisoner of the military since a 2021 coup, has now been convicted on every charge leveled against her, ranging from corruption to illegally possessing walkie-talkies and flouting COVID-19 restrictions. The court's ruling leaves the deposed leader with a total of 33 years to serve in prison following the series of politically motivated prosecutions in the wake of the military seizing power in February 2021. In the case that concluded yesterday, Suu Kyi was alleged to have abused her position and caused a loss of state funds by neglecting to follow financial regulations in granting permission to a cabinet member in her former government, Win Myat Ayi, to hire, buy and maintain a helicopter. San Suu Kyi was the de facto head of the government, holding the title. Still on the foreign scene, Thursday saw Benjamin Netanyahu sworn in as Israel's prime minister, taking the helm of a right-wing coalition government. Netanyahu took the oath of office moments after Parliament had passed a vote of confidence in his new government. The vote marks a return to power for the hawkish political veteran after a stint in opposition, heading what analysts are calling the most right-wing government in the country's history. His return marked his 6th term in office, continuing his more than a decade-long dominance over Israeli politics. Elsewhere, the man suspected of shooting dead 3 Kurdish people in Paris last week has been placed under formal investigation this week. This is according to the city's prosecution office. Momentous developments came as the suspect appeared before an investigating judge. Recall that the 69-year-old man was arrested last week Friday after 2 men and a woman were shot dead at a Kurdish cultural center and nearby Kurdish cafe in Paris, busy central 10th district. Under French law, being put under formal investigation means there is serious or consistent evidence pointing to the implication of a suspect in a crime. The prosecutor's office said the investigation carried out by a dedicated judge will look into the charges of murder, attempted murder, and unauthorized possession of a weapon. It also suspected a racist move. The war in Ukraine continued through the week, with the United States President Joe Biden signing off on a $1.7 trillion spending bill that will keep the U.S. government funded through the next fiscal year, notably including another big package for Ukraine's war effort. The legislation includes $45 billion in emergency military and economic aid for Ukraine, which is battling to plead for increased U.S. assistance. Biden tweeted that the U.S. will invest in medical research, safety, veteran health care, disaster recovery, and funding for programs combating violence against women. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin told his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping yesterday that he was keen to ramp up military cooperation. Battered by unprecedented Western sanctions over Moscow's assault against Ukraine, Putin has hoped to strengthen political and military ties with China, yet Moscow's offensive in conflict, but has offered diplomatic backing to its strategic ally Russia as the new Cold War intensifies between Beijing and Washington. Putin told Xi by video link at the start of the talks that he aimed to strengthen cooperation between the armed forces of Russia and China, calling the Chinese leader a dear friend. The Russian president also hailed the efforts of Moscow and Beijing to counter unprecedented Western pressure and provocations. He added that the He expects Xi to visit Russia in the spring of 2023 in what would be a public show. They called for Russia's removal from the United Nations, where Moscow can veto any resolution as a permanent member of the Security Council. Ukraine asked the member states of the United Nations to deprive the Russian Federation of its status as a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council and to exclude it from the UN as a whole. The statement accused Russia of illegally occupying the seat of the USSR in the United Nations Security Council since the breakup of the Soviet Union in 1991. While Jens Stoltenberg is expecting Sweden and Finland to join the bloc officially in the new year. Stoltenberg made this known in an end-of-year interview with newsmen, but could not say when exactly it would happen. However, he recalled that Sweden and Finland had applied for NATO membership in May due to Russia's war in Ukraine. Turkey has so far refused to ratify the accession protocols to clear the way for them to join NATO. In another development, China has reiterated its opposition to the potential arms sale from the United States to Taiwan region after Washington approved the sale of an anti-tank mine-laying system to the island. According to reports, the potential sale would cost an estimated $180 million. China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin and straight, addressing a news briefing, Wenbin warned that China will take strong measures in defending its sovereignty and security interests. Elsewhere, U.S. lawmakers yesterday released Donald Trump's tax returns, ending a year-long battle by the former president to keep his finances private as he prepares for another run at the White House in 2024. The Republican leader, who lost his re-election bid as he served a single term from 2017 to 2021, broke with tradition by refusing to release the records, triggering speculation about what they might contain. Recall that the House's Ways and Means Committee had released a summary actual audit program. The documents showed that Trump was not being regularly audited by the Internal Revenue Service and that despite reporting millions in earnings, he paid little in tax by claiming large business losses. The returns themselves, released yesterday, were not expected to yield sensational new revelations, but Democrats hope they will add detail on Trump's businesses and particularly any foreign concerns that might present conflicts of interest. Still in the United States, 2 more deaths recorded in connection with the storm that chilled much of the United States around Christmas. Thursday raised the toll of the historic blizzard to at least 61 dead. Both deaths occurred in Erie County, New York, where the city of Buffalo is located. County official Mark Polkaz told a news conference that at least 39 people had died there and that the number was likely to rise further. As the temperatures warm up, authorities are worried that rapid snowmelt could cause flooding. On our business news, Sub-Saharan Africa in 2022 is insufficient to meet the challenging goals of poverty reduction and shared prosperity in the medium to long term. In its new report titled Africa's Pulse, an analysis of issues shaping Africa's economic future, the Washington-based bank said has induced a lasting impact on long-term growth, affecting particularly the poorest people and increasing extreme poverty. It added that the weak rebound of the Nigerian economy in the aftermath of the pandemic, along with the setback from rising inflation, was insufficient to undo pandemic-induced job and income loss. Standards Organization of Nigeria has sensitized manufacturers, consumers, and other stakeholders to the need for quality and standards in goods foods locally manufactured or imported. The agency said the program was in line with its mandate and vision of ensuring that in Asaba Delta State. The Senior Special Assistant to the Director General of SON, Emeka Duru, pointed out that agency organized the sensitization forum to facilitate trade and enhance the economy. Elsewhere, watchdog Rushi is demanding $200,000 to hand over the data reported to include that of some celebrities and deleted. Ireland's Data Protection Commission says it will examine Twitter's compliance with data protection law in relation to that security issue. World mourns Brazil football legend Pele. Do stay with us.
The week's link.
Thanks for staying tuned to complete the news this week. The Nigerian Medical Association says the surge of brain drain is immensely hitting the nation's health sector hard and that the federal government should take steps to. It observed that the nation's health sector had deteriorated in healthcare delivery, warning that this is also fueling brain drain. The NMA President Dr. Uche Ojima lamented that the difficulties faced by Nigerian doctors had worsened in recent times. He further noted that the country was still plagued with diseases such as COVID-19 and Nassr fever and required equipment to tackle them. Still in health, France and the United Kingdom have joined Spain and Italy in requiring travelers arriving from China to provide a negative COVID-19 test result and will be required on direct flights from China and flights with stopovers with random tests carried out on passengers on arrival. The government said positive tests will be sequenced to check for new variants. Meanwhile, UK media reported that the country will require travelers leaving China for Britain to also provide proof of a negative COVID-19 test report from the Asian country. Spanish Health Minister Carolina Darius told a news conference that travelers from China will be required to test negative for COVID-19 or prove they have been fully vaccinated against the disease. Italy, which head of the EU, warning that they risked being ineffective if applied in a piecemeal fashion by only some countries within the bloc. In sports, Brazil has begun 3 days of national mourning following the death of the football legend Pelé. Emotional Brazilians had flocked to the Sao Paulo hospital, where a riot translated as the king died yesterday, and to the Vila Belmiro Stadium in Santos, where he played most of his career. His wake will be held Monday, to be followed on Tuesday by what is expected to be a massive funeral procession through the southeastern city, then a private burial ceremony. Pelé died on Thursday at the age of 82 after fighting colon cancer health challenge. The developments triggered an outpour of condolences, with President Muhammad Buhari joining the list of world leaders and footballers to mourn the legend. Also, football's world governing body FIFA lowered flags at its headquarters in Switzerland to half-mast for the late player as a symbol of mourning and respect. Still in sports, Cristiano Ronaldo has signed for Al Nassr of Saudi Arabia. The club announced this in a deal believed to be worth more than 200 million euros. And Juventus player said he could not wait to discover a new football league in a different country. On our entertainment news, popular Nigerian writer Chimamanda Adichie has been conferred with a chieftaincy title by Lua Abba. The governor of Anambra State, Charles Soludo, among other dignitaries, were present at the ceremony. Still on entertainment news, Nollywood actress Omowumi Dada got engaged on Monday. The actress revealed that she said yes to the $1 million question. Omowumi shared the news on her Instagram. Colleagues have taken the time to share their congratulations, wishing her well. Away from that, Rima's Calm Down this week appeared as the sole Afrobeat single on the chart. In the latest issue of the Billboard Hot 100, the Selena Gomez-assisted remix retains its number 83 spot from last week, while on the US Afrobeats chart, Rima's Calm Down has continued its dominance on the charts as it remains at number 1 for the 17th straight week. Reports say Thames Free Mind retained the number 2 spot, while Burna Boy's Last Last remains at number 3. Kickboxer turned internet personality Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan have been detained in Romania as part of an investigation into alleged human trafficking. According to Romanian prosecutors, Tate and Tristan will be held for questioning for up to 24 hours. Footage broadcast on Romanian television last night showed Tate, one of the most high-profile and divisive organized crime and terrorism, said 4 individuals, 2 United Kingdom citizens and 2 Romanian nationals, were alleged to have formed a criminal group to carry out human trafficking in Romania, as well as other countries, including the United Kingdom and the United States.
And yet China...
The directorate said investigators had identified 6 alleged victims who had been sexually exploited by the group. It noted that the group had surveillance to force them into producing pornographic materials. Breaking just this morning, former Catholic Pope Benedict XVI dies at 95. The former Catholic Pope Benedict XVI has died at his Vatican residence at the age of 95. Bulletins. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube Spectrum Television, a recap of all our major stories. My name is Uyai Anyekan. Do enjoy the rest of your weekend and a happy new year in advance.